Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Childhood and Society SIG Group, where today we have Eco-Pedagogy's seminar with Dr. Abel Longo and Dr. Emanuela. I have to make sure I say your name correctly, so please do, you'll say it. So, Guracello, hopefully. I'm sorry if that's not correct. My Italian is poco poco, but it's getting stronger. So welcome both of you to our seminar today and to all of our delegates that have joined us. Just a little bit of housekeeping before Abela and Emanuela introduce themselves and then present. And then we should have about 20 minutes at the end for an open discussion and questions and networking. So the housekeeping is we are being recorded, so please turn your screen off if you prefer not to be visually part of the session today. Please use the chat to engage throughout, and then we can feedback once the presentation has come to an end, and then we can work on your contributions and ideas and ways forward. And the video will be out on the Childhood and Society SIG. Shams is a star. He normally gets these recordings out really quickly, so that anybody that wasn't able to attend today or wants to revisit has the opportunity to do so. So without any further ado, and again, as Jane always has led us to share with everybody, this is a safe space, a space for sharing your ideas, opening up kind of new ways of looking at something so that we can be safe in the idea that we are moving forward, we're sharing and we're learning from each other. So and that's really a strong ethos of the pedagogies and the difficult dialogues as we move forward. So Abel, if I hand over to you, and thank you both for presenting today. We are so looking forward to this anticipated presentation where we're looking at eco-pedagogies, where we're looking at a creative among creatures aesthetic experiences with artificial intelligence in primary teaching, and it's our online session for today. So thank you, Abela.
Many thanks, Angela. Just to introduce ourselves before we start. So I'm Abele Longo. Many of you know me because I work at Middlesex. My expertise is on eco-pedagogies, eco-criticism, audiovisual and literary translation. I have published a book for spring on Danilo Dolci, an Italian educationalist, called Danilo Dolci, Environmental Education and Empowerment. And also with Emanuela Guarcello, we are going to publish for Routledge in September 2023 a book on critical thinking and judgment called School Children as Agents for Change. Would you like to introduce yourself, Emanuela?
Yes.
Can I start?
I'm very glad to be with you today. I'm Emanuela Guarcello from the University of Turin. I'm the teacher of history and the Institution of Contemporary Pedagogy in the degree course in primary education. And this is also the field about which we are speaking today for the research part. And so I can give the floor to Abele to start with the presentation.
Thank you. Okay, so so the title of our seminar, as Angela said, is A Creature Among Creatures, Aesthetic Experiences with Artificial Intelligence in Primary Teaching. So children must be educated to discern the risks presented by new technology is the premise that forms the basis of the CAIRE research project funded and led by the University of Turin, conducted in partnership with Middlesex University and the West University of Timisoara. So the project targets primary school children and focuses on aesthetic experiences conducted with AI-generated visual arts, for instance, Artivai platform, and we'll tell you more later. So the increasing use of AI in primary education presents the specter of a dystopian future, where children are dehumanized to an addiction to technology, where human teachers, demotivated by their progressive substitution by artificial intelligence applications, become uninspiring and uninspired technology facilitators, and children disconnected from their creative selves lose all sense of agency. So there's also much debate around the concern that the AI solution could incorporate educational ideas reflecting the biases of their developers or distorted by dysfunctional algorithms. Furthermore, the immense amount of energy required to power the world's hunger for technology can only increase the threat to the planet caused by overconsumption. Many of these concerns are shared by the Council of Europe, who, though they state that AI offers many opportunities, highlights as well the many threats posed by the irresponsible and uncontrolled incursion of AI into children's education, to the extent that it makes it necessary to take human rights principles into account in the early design of its application. So the deep understanding of both the critical issues and of its potentialities, understanding necessary to focus on the training needs of the new generations, finds an interpretive lens of excellence, particularly authoritative, significant, and promising, in the eco-pedagogical study of the human-technical relationship. Next. To such a possible dystopian scenario, a utopian eco-pedagogy, drawing on authors like Paulo Freire and Danilo Dolci, can offer a remedy. Eco-pedagogy seeks to interpolate quintessentially Freirean aims of the humanization of experience and the achievement of a just and free world with a future-oriented ecological politics that militantly opposes the globalization of neoliberalism and imperialism on the one hand, and attempts to foment collective eco-literacy and realize cultural relevant forms of knowledge, grounded in normative concepts such as sustainability, planetarity, and biophilia on the other. Eco-pedagogy is transformative teaching in which educators dialectically problem-pose the politics of socio-environmental connection through local, global, and planetary lenses. It is therefore not only based on experiential education composed of activities in contact with nature, but aims as well to develop tools to change and subvert this system of domination. Its main purpose is to educate children to face real everyday problems with action, creativity, and dialogue to move towards sustainable growth, based on respect for nature, the rights of all, justice, and the culture of peace. So today I'm going to explore how Freire's utopia considers a path to an open future, the awareness of the imperfection of the unfinished human that result in his educability and perfectibility, and Dolci's visions of realizable utopia, which means enabling children to discover the strength to express themselves and find intuition for the new to be designed, can represent part of a solution. Next. So rather than fearing or shunning it, Freire embraced the use of technology in education, and in the early 1990s set up the Central Laboratory for Educational Informatics in Sao Paulo, which made significant investment in digital equipment. From Pedagogy of the Oppressed onwards, he makes the argument that it's not technology itself that is a negative force, but the way that is used or deployed. Knowledge emerges only through invention and reinvention. through the restless, continuing, and hopefully inquiring human beings pursue in the world, with the world and each other. And Freire saw technology as a useful tool that, if employed correctly, enhances this creative process. Dolci had concerns, on the other hand, about creativity being deformed by technology, which he believed had the potential to become the instrument of parasitism and destruction. Next. His answer to this concern was his reciprocal maieutics, the educational method he fostered, which is a dialectic method of inquiry that aims to foster the growth of consciousness by guiding the participants to listen to different points of view and focus on any contradictions that emerge. This method became the cornerstone of Dolci's psychopedagogy, built on the need to guide children as they develop into responsible adults, working towards the formation of a planetary citizenship based on dialogue and the relationships that exist between all the creatures that inhabit the earth. His aim, through his reciprocal maieutics, was to develop personal, group, and collective creativity, which he believed could be a means of working towards a future where, in many regions of the earth, communities were following the paths of research, dialogue, cooperation, and solidarity in multiple forms of art and maietic education. Next. In Critical Pedagogical Literacy and Planetary Crisis, published in 2010, Richard Kahn presents a framework for eco-pedagogy focusing on eco-literacy programs, both within school and society. He writes about creating scholar activist coalitions to promote eco-pedagogies and dedicates a chapter to the relationship with technology, argue that in the political battles of the future, educators will need to devise ways to produce and use this technology, to realize a critical oppositional eco-pedagogy that serves the interests of the oppressed as the aim of the democratic and sustainable reconstruction of technology, education, and society itself. He concludes that robustly critical forms of media, computer, and multimedia literacies needed to be developed as digital subsets of a larger project of multiple techno-literacies. Critical media literacy not only teaches students to learn from media, to resist media manipulation and to use media materials in constructive ways, but is also concerned with developing skills that will help create good citizens and make them more motivated and competent participants in social life. Critical media literacy can be connected with the project of radical democracy as it engages with the developments of technologies that will enhance political mobilization and cultural participation. In this respect, it takes a comprehensive approach that teaches critical attitudes and provides experiential use of media as technology of social communications and change. This approach is imbued with the importance of critical thinking for the promotion in the child of active and responsible citizenship, and that sustaining, as Kahn says, of a life and creativity firmly grounded in a material and social understanding of our interconnected organic existence as a starting place for classroom practice and political strategies for reinventing the world. Next. This means bringing AI-supported creativity into play in the classroom, guiding children to engage soulfully in their work together and offering a perspective on art's function of awakening and enlightening us, leading to the creation of new utopias where creativity, as intended by Freire, determines our being in and with the world. allowing individual identity to become collective subjectivity, encouraging true reflections and leading to action. This must be understood as part of a process of relational sensitivity, since each one of us, as Dolci says, is capable through creativity of discovering the invisible, innumerable roots that reach out in every direction to connect us to the world. While utopia is the effort to bring our life into the open, in images and ideas, so that a still hidden can be brought into the light, opening the way to a brighter future and a better world. Over now to Emanuela.
Although the ever-accelerating evolution of technologies foregrounds the risks and consequences of artificial intelligence technologies, it is thanks to the human-technology relationship that human beings originally cultivated an extraordinary process of humanization of themselves and the natural world. They cultivated this process thanks to the invention and use of technology that was useful to render human existence more functional, manageable, and comfortable. They cultivated this process also thanks to technologies that were not only useful but significant for expanding and broadening human feeling and intimate expression. In both these senses, useful and significant, the use of technology started and led towards a progressive humanization of human beings. This critical relationship between human beings and technology is now more necessary than ever. A relationship that must take account of the problematic aspects that it presents today, but also and above all of its humanizing possibilities. This critical relationship is not instinctive and cannot happen by chance. On the contrary, it must be initiated and cultivated in an early way, starting from primary school, through the formation of the capacity for thought and discernment. The human being, in fact, is called from the beginning to form himself, specifically with respect to the capacity of discernment necessary to contain the possible consequences of the use of artificial intelligence technologies and to again seize the opportunity through technology to humanize himself and the natural world. It is a formation that accompanies the new generations early on and in an extensive universal way from primary school to cultivate those particular human qualities of critical thinking and judgment necessary for reflective, critical, and ethical guidance and orientation of new artificial intelligence technologies so that they remain at the service of the flourishing of the human. This early training, currently the subject of research within the Child AI Relationship Project, can find in aesthetic experiences, especially related to visual and pictorial arts, a particularly promising opportunity. As attested by an ancient and authoritative philosophical pedagogical tradition, aesthetic experiences allow us to reconstruct a vision of the issues under examination that has at least three formative qualities. This is an integral, creative, and critical vision. In particular, creative because it permits us to feel and think about the experience in a comprehensive and integral way. And critical because it promotes individual and collective processes of problematization and critical discernment and deliberation. Indeed, aesthetic experiences, in particular referring to the visual and pictorial arts, reconstruct a vision of the issues under examination, therefore also of the relationship with the artificial intelligence technologies, integral, critical, and ethical, and in this way, they can always represent a promising opportunity. But at the same time, when centered on the focus of the relationship with radical technologies, their significance and effectiveness can be particularly relevant in the case of a specific subset of experiences. These are the experiences of visual arts generated with artificial intelligence. On the basis of this theoretical framework, the research project has conceived an innovative training practice targeted at primary school children and made through aesthetic experiences conducted with artificial intelligence generated visual arts through the use of the Artivive platform. The project aims to answer to three research questions: how to educate children to a critical relationship with artificial intelligence technologies in primary school through aesthetic experiences of visual art generated with artificial intelligence. What specific educational outcomes can be achieved through these experiences, and how to involve families and communities in this formative process. The research methodology is articulated at two different levels: a systematic review of the literature and an art-based participatory action research. We can't deepen the systematic review now due to problems of time. In any case, we reconstructed the state of the art with regard to the use of artificial intelligence technologies for arts in primary schools, and didn't find any experience where a critical relationship with artificial intelligence technologies is promoted. The presence of artificial intelligence technologies for arts is aimed only at obtaining instrumental objectives. For example, to recognize the different colors, to draw in a correct way, and so on. Anyway, through this review, we identified some interesting aspects to conduct our formative training in schools. On the level of the art-based participatory action research, the research involves about 4 primary schools, 1 in Timisoara, 2 in Turin, and 1 in London, 8 teachers, 6 classrooms, and children's families and communities. The research planning follows 3 progressive phases. In the first phase, from March to April 2023, a formative path with the participating teachers is made in order to share and reflect on the issue of the development of a critical and creative relationship with artificial intelligence technologies through aesthetic experiences of visual art generated with artificial intelligence, to design the aesthetic experience to be undertaken with children through the use of Artivive, augmented reality platform for art. In the second phase, from May to September 2023, the formative experience with children for 9 to 11 years old is conducted on the theme Interfaces between human and artificial. The experience follows the next formative steps. Each child reflects on the image of his/her inner face. She paints the skin of the inner face, for example, a landscape, an animal, a vegetable, and so on, and takes a photo with. She makes a short video helped by the parents, representative of a personal inner quality or characteristic. As you can see, children can insert the photo and video into Artivive. This is a screenshot of the platform of Artivive into Artivive program and creates an augmented image of her face. It follows the presentation and the reflection on each face, the presentation of the functioning of Artivive platform and of other platforms for arts, for example, the platform DALL-E, the presentation of the meaning of artificial intelligence and the different kinds of artificial intelligence technologies through a podcast made by the Gallino Lab of the University of Turin. And then we have a plenary discussion on the creative and expressive potentialities of artificial intelligence technologies and on some problematic aspects of artificial intelligence technologies for arts. For example, the standardized experiences, the self-referential experiences or over-delegation, hypermediality, low mediality, and so on. Then we work on the collective writing of an ethical chart written by the children on the use of artificial intelligence technologies for art. Now we can see together one of these artworks made by the children to the Artivive platform. I can share this new screen. To show you one of the artwork. Okay, these are the artworks made by the children of one class in Turin. Now, these artworks are made in a classical way by the children on a normal paper and then augmented through the video. This is one of our artwork. We can see the artwork in 2D and the augmented. Title is The Water Speaks. Now, I share again the slides. Yes. In the third phase, in November 2023, the International Virtual Exhibition will be presented, in which to share the children's artworks alongside those of professional artists. This opportunity facilitates the sharing with parents and communities of the children's core reflections on their relationship with artificial intelligence technologies and highlights some of the most critical points guiding the relationship that new generations have with the artificial intelligence technologies. Among the main expected outcomes, the research aims to identify specific formative outcomes achieved by children with regard to the knowledge, AI, meaning and technologies, the judgment competence, critical reflection, discussion, deliberation, and the understanding of the criticalities and potentialities of artificial intelligence technologies. In order to evaluate these outcomes, researchers and teachers will analyze and interpret the pre- and post-qualitative questionnaires filled out by children on the topic of the relationship with artificial intelligence technologies, the logbooks written by the teachers and researchers, the dialogues among children, teachers, and researchers recorded during the activity in classrooms, the artworks created by the children, the individual semi-structured interviews with the participating teachers after the completion of the formative experience. The implementation and evaluation of the 3 research phases do not represent the conclusion of the project. Based on the results obtained and the training process implemented, the future research perspectives are divided into 2 levels. A first level of involvement of primary schools on a larger scale in carrying out the training course, and a second level of diversification and deepening of the aesthetic experience with artificial intelligence. As regards the first future development plan, the intention is to create a final virtual exhibition in the form of an educational exhibition, also aimed at being used by new primary school classes of the second cycle during the school year 2023 and 24. Through the use of the virtual exhibition, children and teachers will in fact be able to both enjoy the artistic contents and learn methods and processes for creating the same products by reproducing, adapting the training activity experienced in the pilot classes. The virtual exhibition will in fact provide a virtual guide and video tutorials functional to understanding the meaning of the contents and the methods of implementing the training process in the classroom. As regards the second future development plan, the intention is to set up an immersive augmented reality experience within a specially created artwork in order to promote a process of critical reflection on the relationship between human beings and artificial intelligence technologies. The immersive experience, which will create a Deweyan educational environment, will be aimed at the primary school classes of the second cycle who have previously joined the classroom training course. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, wow. Thank you, Emanuela. Thank you, Abel. Very provocative with the theoretical background and underpinning, and bringing in the criticality, pedagogy, literacy, skills, vision, relationships, and then connecting to the AI. Really intriguing areas for us to get our teeth into. So thank you both. And what a wonderful project. And those visuals from the children and the way that moved through from static to going into it was just amazing. Want to have some more looks into them at a later date. So I'd like to open up to our audience, our delegates, our colleagues. If anybody would like to feed back to Abel and Emanuela, or have any questions that you'd like to engage with, please come forward. If not, I'm happy to kick off with points. Let's just see if anybody wants to come in there. Not at the moment, so I'm going to just grab chair's privilege, if that's okay. No shame. I'm interested in so much of it, and the project sounds wonderful. And I guess one of the bits that got me right at the beginning that I haven't that I'd like to talk to you about is when you talked about the critical pedagogy, before you even move over to the connection to engaging with computers and technology and AI and so on and so forth. I found it really interesting about that criticality in schools, and this kind of links to my own projects that I've engaged with. And when you're talking about really enhancing and engaging with those critical criticality skills, so that the oppressed can, you know, be set free, let's just say, for now. And I wondered who would be doing all that. Is it the oppressed teaching the oppressed? Is it the consciously oppressed that are moving forward that's teaching? Because I found that because we're teachers, we can't assume that we're consciously aware of our oppression or oppressed. And so those criticality skills sometimes, because you used, I think, the word divergence, and I wonder how children are being you know, how they are diverting or being divergent, and how that's being responded to. And when children begin to engage with that criticality, how's that responded to in these environments? That's kind of got me at that stage, even before you've moved on to all your other amazing aspects of the project. So I don't know if you can respond to that, or if that fits in with your project stages.
You want me to start? So yes, if I understand well, Angela, you are basically asking us what we are thinking of in terms of enhancing criticality, you know, these critical skills. To find out more about this. Let's say that here there are various and different strategies. I mentioned before Danilos, Dolcis, and Maïeutic, reciprocal Maïeutics, which is very much based on dialogue, discussing divergences as well, contrasts, and sharing experiences and come with collective inverted commas too. So that of course is very much based on a discussion. But yeah, as Emanuela said, there's also, it's part of the project to actually discuss their work. For instance, when it comes to these interfaces, children will be asked to give their insights about, you know, their choices, the way that they approached, you know, the task, and so on and so forth. There will be, of course, a dialogue as well with the artist. I mean, Emanuela didn't go into all the details, but for instance, part of the project as well, having an artist who will present her own work, and then the student will be asked to discuss this work, to, you know, ask themselves questions, and that will be then discussed together first, but then also with the artist herself. So let's say that, you know, this criticality is very much part of the project, and will be, I mean, the students' feedback of their dialogue, so what they will, you know, be writing in their compositions, and so on and so forth. All of that will also be part of these virtual exhibitions. Yeah, so let's say that, yeah, very much based on developing, you know, this criticality from the very beginning, from the very first stage. Yeah.
Thank you, Abella. And it's interesting to think about the criticality already in the schools before you go in, and how that's going to impact. So yeah, really exciting. Thank you. I can see Jane's hand is up. Thank you, Jane.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, a fascinating project and really very timely. And I just wondered if you could speak to the current hysteria around AI, and, you know, the fact that we've hit a tipping point, and that the machines are going to take over the world, and our agency, human agency, is under threat. And I'm just wondering how, if at all, that plays out. It's almost impossible not to have that as a kind of context setting. But in terms of what you're doing with the children, and how artificial intelligence, as you set out from Freire and others, that it's seen in a positive light as a kind of as something that can enhance what children do and the way that they engage in the world. But is there, you know, how are you dealing with those discourses around risk discourses around artificial intelligence and the digital in childhoods? Because that's obviously a very big debate.
Yeah. Capito?
Vado io.
Ok.
Thank you, Jane. In the classes, for now, by now, in the classes of Turing, we are working in this way. The aim is to permit the children to experiment a possible relation with the artificial intelligence technologies, taking as example the technologies for arts. In this way, we are doing two different experiences. One of production of arts, the experience you saw with the artworks of the children, and the second experience of contemplation of arts generated through artificial intelligence. I can share again the screen, maybe, to show the artwork that the artist realized for the contemplation experience. This is the first phase of the artwork, and this is the augmented artwork. In both of the experiences, children look at these artworks, their artwork or the artwork of the artist, and then we start with a questioning process in which, without giving any answer, any personal position about the artwork, we are seeing the artworks and asking together about our doubts, curiosities, and so on. Then, on the basis of our investigations, we start to reconstruct possible meanings of our artworks. Children write this is the formative process. First, children looks at their artwork and write a first taste, personal immediate taste. Then they write a possible title of the artwork. Then we work about the questions, asking together a lot of questions about the picture, about the image. Then each child writes the personal meaning given to the image, and then we start with the debate. Then each child writes if this experience permits her to express personal thoughts, feelings, and to know something of new about other children. So in this way, children experiment the expressive power of art, also generated by artificial intelligence technologies, through experience, not through an abstract way of reasoning. Then, in the formative experiences conducted in the schools of Turing, we discover the way of production of these artworks through a platform that creates art through artificial intelligence. And we see other platforms, for example, DALL-E. DALL-E is a platform for arts in which you can write some words in English, and then the platform gives you images without any work, without any human creativity. This the previous experience and these different platforms are the basis for the discussion about the potentialities of artificial intelligence also for arts, and at the same time criticalities, without having a unique position. And in our experience, in each class, always children initiated to say a lot of things about the potentialities because they experimented the expressive power, and also criticalities about authorship, creativity, the use of artificial intelligence technologies in different ways. Then we wrote potentialities and criticalities and possible rules, principles that we have to use in order to have a humanizing relationship with artificial intelligence technologies for arts, but also in all the other fields of our experience, because children usually start to reflect about some robots they meet in the daily life, about the technologies that they have in the personal houses and so on.
Okay. Can I just add something to that? To focus more on your question, Jane, about the paranoia, around AI. That's definitely, of course, an issue, and with something that we will, let's say that we will discuss, will be tackled, in the sense that in this project of utopia, of course, the dystopian will also be presented. But yes, so in the discussions, of course, we will focus more on or at least we'll discuss anyhow the advantages of using AI in a critical, productive, and useful, helpful, educative, enlightening way, whatever. But I would also like to say that it's very, to some extent, very lucky, because here there's this lab that Emanuela mentioned before, the so-called Gallino lab, which is maybe one of the most important, if not the most important in Italy, about robotics and artificial intelligence. And we will be collaborating with them. We'll be part of the project, and share the collaborate on this virtual exhibition. And it's very interesting that the fact that they are very much involved, let's say, in eco-pedagogical projects. So that, was very interesting. It's quite a surprise, to be honest, because sometimes, we got sort of maybe prejudiced in the sense of, institutions that deal with robotics, artificial intelligence, and so on. But actually, they are, as a matter of fact, they are funding a project in Ecuador to Save the Forest. They got links there with a famous educator, an entomologist that educates children on the field. So it's quite interesting to see that this awareness, not only about a very constructive use of artificial intelligence, but also in terms of helping the environment from a purely eco-pedagogical perspective, is already in place. So that's great, so that will be part of the project too. And of course, it's something that will be discussed with the students, the children, that they will see these robots. They got nice robots, here in this lab, but still they will also show what they're doing for this project in Ecuador to save the forest and so on and so forth. I want to just add that.
Great, thank you both very much. Fascinating.
Thank you. Anybody else like to ask Abella or Emanuela anything about the project, or to comment, or to share insights into their own research that maybe connects?
I just wanted to say, I just think it's really important that we do engage with children with AI from a young age, because this technology is not going back in the box.
Yeah.
And it's a question of how it's going to be used, but also people's awareness to use it, because of things like the sort of fake images that can be made. In the past, films used to be sort of seen as proof. The camera never lies, and then if you had a film and you had recording, and you had recording of someone speaking, that was seen as kind of irrefutable evidence, because that wasn't doctored in the way, say, Stalin doctored photographs of people as they fell out of favor with the Politburo. But now the way deep fakes can be created, it's really quite mind-blowing. And so people have to be educated from a very young age to be quite critical, and to have, to take an evaluative stance. And this is something we see with our own students, just about anything. I'm not talking about AI, but just trying to encourage our own undergraduate students to take evaluative stances rather than just accepting things presented as at face value because for whatever reason they trust the source. So I think it's brilliant that the children are being introduced to evaluating AI from such a young age, but also interacting with it, and therefore seeing what it's capable of, and seeing how it can be used to manipulate images, and also create things.
Yeah.
Just in response
for your comment. Sorry.
Thank you, Abel. Yeah, sorry, I saw your microphone off. I didn't realize it was on up the other side. So yeah, please carry on.
No, I would just say thank you to Claire for a comment. I can only agree. It's very important indeed. I mean, because of course it's something that is there. We cannot stop it. The only thing is, of course, to think about how to really see it in a critical way, and to educate children and ourselves, of course, on making good use of it. And that's quite important. I think it's the main point of the project. I personally think it's my own idea that in any case experiences with the technologies, AI, should to some extent, especially in the first years, of primary education, should be to some extent controlled, even limited in terms of activity. Yeah, this is my concern, but I think it would be important to hear from you as well what you think about this. In the sense that my fear is that although of course we will be. The idea is that children will be focusing on the positive aspects of it. Still, if it's use it with a certain frequencies on a daily basis, will only unfortunately, let's say, enhances, to some extent, enforce this big problem of addiction to technology. So addiction to technology could start at a very early age. So that's my main concern. But as I said, it's my personal one. So I think that in an ideal world, yes, of course, it's very important to introduce children, to the good use, critical use of artificial intelligence. But at the same time, I think that it should be regulated in any case. As I think Nico said, it's important that they recognize their creativity first of all, but still, I repeat, this is a sort of concern. So for the future. Yeah,
I think that's a really important point about people recognizing their own creativity, because what I do worry about is, and what I really liked about the project was that children started with their own drawings and then they augmented them. So it wasn't that they were creating something only kind of in a digital AI.
Yeah, exactly. That's quite important.
Because I think it would be, it could be so easy for children, people to sort of think, well, I can't create such a quote unquote perfect image on my own with paper, crayons, paints, whatever. So I only want to create on the screen. And I mean, I'm particularly interested in AI with this from the language aspect of it. So, we kind of see this a bit with ChatGPT, where people are thinking, well, I can't write as well as this, so I would rather put this writing in and pretend it's mine than try and phrase it in my own words with my own understanding, because I can't write as elegantly or as fluently as ChatGPT writes. And I worry about that people lose sense of their own power of creativity and their own power of expression, and the importance for authenticity in expression. But then if people are primarily instrumentally motivated to get grades, then I think some people might be quite prepared to sacrifice authenticity to get good grades, effectively cheat, for want of a better expression.
Yes,
Definitely.
and we think that the only way to promote the consciousness of children about the difference between use the potentialities of the technology without creativity and the use of our creativity, of our words, of our image to create an art product is possible only starting from the experience of the child, in which she can try the difference, feel the difference, the different feelings about the creation of an artwork that is mine, or the use of some images that I can find online. And the possibility to start with these formative experiences in an early way. For example, we saw that our children, about 9, 10, 11 years old, didn't know the meaning of artificial intelligence. They thought to know the meaning, but they had a wrong meaning of artificial intelligence. They thought that artificial intelligence machines can have personal feelings, for example. And this is a big issue for us in a pedagogical field.
Yes, I suppose it's like when children have those little robots that sometimes they use in nurseries, and they kind of anthropomorphize them to have emotions.
Well, Emanuela and Abella, I'm just going to say thank you, and I think just on that point that Claire's opened up with you both about the personalities of AI and how us adults put personalities and emotions into them. I think there's so many opportunities that we'd like to invite you back to give us some more stages of this project, if that's okay, in our next series. That would be absolutely wonderful. I think you've got us hooked at this time. So we definitely, if we could invite you back and book you in before anybody else nabs you, that would be great. And I'd like to thank you both so much for sharing your expertise and your research project and the different phases and the kind of tentacles as to where it's going and the underpinning theoretical framework as well. So thank you very much, Emanuela and Abel, for the session today. And I would like to thank everybody that turned up and everybody that's tuned in on the recording that will be watching it at a later time. And we do have another session on the 19th of June with Professor Jane Osgood, who will be looking at a playful archive of childhood research, adventures requiring care and recklessness. So we do hope to continue our joint seminars between eco-pedagogies and difficult dialogues for the childhood and society SIG. So we look forward to seeing you all again soon, and thank you everybody for your contributions today, really appreciated.